get to run into the chief pilot, maybe the chief assistant pilot for Skyshare. So if you guys are looking to become a pilot, those are the guys you're probably going to want to start talking to. Maybe throw your name, get familiar with, contact information maybe. The other guys you're going to get to meet is the maintenance department as well. So we do maintenance on our own aircraft and stuff like that. And you'll get to meet the manager of the maintenance department as well today. So that's what we'll cover for here at Skyshare. There's definitely a lot more other things that happen as well behind the scenes of Skyshare. We have a sales team, we have a dispatching team, they're all in Salt Lake though, so just because it's such a large company that's grown really quickly and how diverse we do different operations and stuff like that. Are you guys, so who's further in the program with the CFI training and stuff?
We're all at the same level of basically learning to fly the Cessna 172 on the flight simulator, X-plane flight simulator.
Okay.
And so we're trying to basically cover the topics that a private pilot would have to learn and skills that the private pilot would have to develop.
For sure.
So that's where we're at, all of us.
Okay, gotcha. Just getting exposed to it and kind of more so. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, private instrument definitely make it or break it. I'm sure the CFIs can tell you guys about all that kind of deal, the training and stuff. I went all the way up to instrument and I decided I didn't want to fly as a career. So that's why I more so stayed on the ground, stayed local and be home, health reasons as well. So there's all different kinds of aspects that play into a pilot becoming a pilot. So, but yeah, do you guys have any questions as of now before we get started and anything like that?
I have a question, just out of historical curiosity. So this facility was originally constructed by Spectrasonics, which later became Ogden Jet Center. Jean Dilley was in charge at the time. You know, Jean, is she still around? I'm sure she's passed away.
She's not longer. No, she's not here with us anymore.
After Ogden Jet Center, what happened in terms of management or ownership of the facility?
Yeah, so that was, Skyshare became CB Skyshare about 15 years ago. It wasn't at this facility. We were actually over in Cornerstones, hangar down there. And Corey, he just started making some phone calls, started to sell some planes, have connections kind of thing, help with brokerage side and stuff. And then eventually, like 3 years, they brought on a maintenance department and everything like that because he was fixing these planes, right? And then he turned around to sell them and stuff. And so then they had a sales team come on board and then eventually it started growing, and that's why we ended up buying this facility about, I don't remember how long ago this facility's been here. I want to say about 10 years, more so or less. And then we've been here for the 10 years, and then we had our maintenance department. We've obviously grown to fit the space a lot for sure. With the FBO as well, operations is something that we have done as well. Previously, the Jet Center, they used to have things that were not to standard back at the time, right?
Okay.
So like a fuel farm used to be out on the street side and stuff, which is okay and stuff, but it was on the street side, unmonitored and everything like that, but we're pulling fuel from the tanks out on the street, not really supervised, monitored or anything like that and stuff, so there's more issues that were being issued. And so then we had to build another fuel farm, was the thing that had to happen and stuff for us to become an FBO. There's a lot of different things that go into the place of that had to occur in order for us to make this an official FBO or be a base for our aircraft and facility.
So this business, Skyshare, this is like in a sense, kind of a car rental agency, but for like airplanes, particularly like, you know, the corporate jets type of airplane. So if your company doesn't feel like you're in a position to spring for your own Gulfstream or whatever, the Cessna Citation, you can rent them here or have fractional ownership or something like that. How much of the business is that versus normal FBO stuff?
So the FBO operation is 5% of the business.
Oh, so you are mostly Skyshare.
And so the FBO is 5% of the business. A lot of the business comes from Skyshare, obviously. FBO operations, though, we do a lot of as well. Like, I mean, right? Skyshare's broken up into 5 different sections. Let me break that down first. We have the FBOs, we have charter, which is like you guys can go rent out a vehicle or something like that, right? I need a pilot, go fly me here. That's a charter operation. You have the crew, don't need to worry about any of the planes or anything like that. That would be a charter operation. We have fractional ownerships, which is like timeshares. You guys know anything about timeshares?
We haven't discussed it in class, so.
Okay, so a lot of like Disney timeshares and stuff, like they do Disney World, like the resorts, big places you can stay at, right? You can buy it on timeshare. You can buy like an eighth, a fourth, or something like that, and that gives you that liability, that responsibility of that timeshare. You own that much more of that property or that asset compared to somebody that owns less. And so you would get more priority of, hey, I'm going to come visit Disney on Christmas Day, right? And this other person with less would be, they would obviously try to accommodate, but they can do what they have to, and that's how they prioritize, hey, this is, we need to fly out, this is what happens. So people will actually buy in on a part of a plane as well, and that's what the whole part fractional ownership is. They'll buy in on a part of a plane, they don't have to worry about maintenance, they don't have to worry about crews, they don't have to worry about the cost of relocation, insurance reasons, right? The plane's got to fly so much and stuff, so all those things, right? And then we got brokerage team, we have a sales team, like I mentioned, that's where Corey started the business off with, and so he sells planes. He can sell planes, he's turning around, buying another plane, selling another plane, just like the real estate business, buying and selling, real estate agent. And then we got the SkyOps department, we have our maintenance department as well. And so the FBO is only 5% of the company in that regards to what I was speaking of. But in regards to what Skyshare does for the FBO operations, we probably do about, I'd say 30 to 40% with Skyshare operations.
So FBO is fixed base operator. That's like the service station on base. That's where you would get your gas or you could park, have your airplane worked on. So it's kind of like a airport service station for the airplanes. That's fixed base operator.
Yep. So a plane comes in, they're gonna need some gas or anything, or they're stopping. We had a C-130 not too long ago come into us because they can't go into Hill because Hill's very restricted on who can go in, but then also they don't deliver fuel because they're very tight on the fuel budget with the F-35s and all these other guys that are going in. So we had a C-130, just a transient is a word that you guys, I don't know if you're aware of, but it's just an outsider that's not based here in Utah. The transient will come in, he's just transporting, going to, this is another stop, right? So he just came in, the crew came in, wanted to take the crew car, and they went to a restaurant, and then they left. And so they parked the plane, left a nice cool plane on the ramp, and we're like, cool, and stuff. And so then we got to check out the plane and then everything like that. But that's a lot of the reasons is the parking spots for planes, more so or less. They stay here for a little while. The ramp is full right now. We do have a lot of planes on our ramp right now. So a lot of it is because ski season. Everybody's getting their tax returns. All these businesses are getting their tax returns back, and businesses are operating a little better. They know what they can do and what they can't do and stuff. So it's going to get, there's that as well. So snow, tax season as well, just that kind of stuff. But if we go outside, you'll probably hear like a loud engine running. It's not an engine, it's the AP on a plane, which is like an auxiliary power unit on the Gulfstream that's just right over here. And that is like another power, just like how you turn on your car to the power mode, you don't turn on the engine. That's kind of what they're doing. They're just on the battery mode right now. And that's what they're running off. He's just warming it up right now, checking it out. They have a flight tomorrow and stuff, so they're just checking, making sure everything's all good. Are you guys interested in flying, like becoming an airline or private side more so now? Here's my question. Airline? Everybody's kind of looking for airline side? Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah.
this is the first class that Weber School District has offered in aviation and all.
Oh, wow.
So these are the first group.
Yeah.
So maybe these are the guys most interested.
Uh-huh.
We hope so. They are very highly motivated. So
Okay, yeah, no, so airline's definitely a good route. Get your hours in, go fly. You get to go just everywhere, just see. And it's really, you get treated well with the companies you get on with as well, airlines and stuff. Private's also good as well. They have their benefits, both have their benefits to whichever you want and stuff. So there's those things to take into factor for sure. Private's a little more fixed, a little more probably not as laid back compared to the airline, but there's just I'm sure the CFIs can all vocalize something they have in mind of what they want to do as well. So, so it's Robbie, and then
Riley.
I'm Matt.
Matt. Okay, and then I'll get you guys' names. I'm Dalton again, and then your name?
Eric.
Eric. Okay. Give me a second to get those names down, and then we'll get you guys' names going. We can go check out some planes right now, and then I'll probably hand you guys off to the maintenance department. Make sure, and you guys can check up with him, go ask any questions. But yeah, we do fuelings, we do de-icing of airplanes, right? All these planes are going to be covered in snow right now. And so right now I can promise you we're probably going to have to use the de-ice truck and take off the snow off the trucks or the planes and stuff, because a lot of times they can't go into the hangar for whatever reason, right? There'll actually be one of not our planes, so two planes that are not our planes in the hangars right now. And they're just here for a couple of days and stuff, and they just wanted to get in the hangar, and so we're like, yeah, we can accommodate you, we'll get you in, I think, so they don't get snow on it, right? Because the weather does some serious damage on planes and stuff. So there's a couple people that are out flying right now. I'm like, kind of brave souls that are going out, but you're the ultimate safe. So we can go on over to this next one.
I want to say something here about this airplane. Okay, so last time we were here, we saw some airplanes. We actually saw some airplane engines. Those were piston-powered engines, kind of like what's in your car. This one is not a piston aircraft. This one actually has a turbine. It's a jet engine that actually turns this propeller. So turboprop is another name. You know, a turboprop or yeah. Just in case, take a look at it if you want to. I mean, don't spend a lot of time, but just realize this is not a piston airplane.
No.
This is a turbine. So.
Would you guys rather have maintenance come talk to you guys right now real quick, and then I can go show you guys another?
Whatever you think. I mean, we don't have. We're in your hands.
Okay, sounds good. So, Skyshare, we have different sizes of airplanes as well. PC-12 is the smallest airplane that we operate in our fleet. Then we go up to CJ, which there's a CJ just right out here. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's kind of snow covered in right now. And we have the Excel, which is right over here, the 766 tail number. Not this guy, but the one behind that guy. And then we have a Gulfstream 200, which is next bigger up. And we have a G400 as well that we are operating out of as well. Just got out in the fleet as well as charter operations. So this one is actually part of a pilot program that we have for Skyshare. The owner bought this guy, this little warrior back here, and he knows a lot of the line techs are pilots, pursuing pilots, and he wants to help them get their hours and everything. So the owner bought this guy, this little warrior, and he's like, well, you guys don't need to pay for the time, you don't need to pay for an instructor unless you're outsourcing an instructor, and you guys can go fly it, just pay for the gas. As an employee, we get that benefit, and it's pretty nice. So there's that, right? The owner, he does care. We get to fly as well if the plane is going out. Any of our planes are empty legs out of here anywhere. We can fly out in the cockpit or fly with the plane, the crew and stuff to that location. But that's not to say that we get a ride back, because they might have passengers on it, clients and stuff, and we're not welcomed on the clients' flights, right? Just because that's not how it is. But it's an empty leg out there. You guys can. That's how it is with airlining as well, right? You can jump seat on the airline as an airline pilot with airline crew and stuff. So.
Wicked cool. Yeah, you don't see this.
Top of the line. It's the latest avionics, electronics, everything. It's beautiful.
Yeah, tell us about some of the interesting features, like the
Okay.
controls on your ceiling if you get in a tight spot.
We'll start at the beginning.
Okay.
Two brothers started the company, Cirrus. Probably heard of Cirrus. And one of their visions was to have a personal jet. So this fits in the category of a VLJ, a very light jet. And it only weighs 6,000 pounds at maximum weight. And it holds 7, 5 adults, 2 children. And you can walk and kind of look at it. So they started designing it in the early 2000s, and we're almost ready. Yeah, you could look in there. It's all touchscreen. There's hardly any buttons in there. It's all touch screens and everything. And it looks like something Elon Musk would have designed, you know. So if you look in the Dragon capsule that just went to the space station, it looks very similar. It's all touch screen. But so they ran into money trouble in 2008, had to postpone the development of the jet. By 2012, they had the money again. 2016, they had a prototype. And in 2017 got certification by the FAA, and the first ones came off the production line in 2018. I have a friend who's an astronaut. He did 3 shuttle missions to the space station. He has serial number 6, and that's how we met. We're both serious. Anyhow, because they finally made a very personal sized jet. I live in the state of Delaware. Do you know where that is? All the way on the Atlantic Ocean, but I have a grandson here. So that would be pretty tough to fly in a piston airplane. It would be a long trip. But it was 7 hours, 2 fuel stops in this. And you arrive fresh. And you're above all the weather because it goes to 30,000 feet. So when they finally got certification, started marketing it, they got what's called the Collier Trophy. The Collier Trophy is given to the biggest advancement in aviation that year. And so by finally making a personalized jet, they got the Collier Trophy. So then, what the professor was alluding to is, it has some unique things. In this here, does anybody know what's in here? A parachute, a ballistic parachute. So say I take off into these clouds and I get disoriented and I don't know where I am because I don't have any visual reference, and I start to spin, I could pull that parachute. It's been pulled in the jet 3 times. Everybody survived. In its SR-22 class, it's been pulled 128 times. And all but 2 crews survived, and the 2 that didn't, they pulled too low. Does anybody here skydove? Yeah, I'm a big skydiver. I got hundreds of jumps. But you need time for the parachute to come out, lines to deploy, so you have to pull before 600 feet. So one of my call-outs when I take off is, besides gear up, power back, at 600 feet above the ground, I say caps alive, Cirrus airframe parachute system alive. It's now one of my options to use. So then they put in these electronics here. They may be in that. It's Garmin's 3000 suite. And one of the things they put in there was a button. And you should come in here and look at the button right here.
Yeah, go, stick your head up.
That's
Have a look inside.
That's called Safe Return Auto Land. So if I already said though, if I run into trouble, I can pull a parachute. If, however, what if something happens to me? My wife's a really good co-pilot, but she won't be able to land this. So there's a button in there, that black button right in the center, so that anybody can reach, the back seats, the front seats. So if something happens to me and I'm not responsive, my wife is to like slap me, wake up, like in CPR. And if I don't respond, she pushes that button. Does anybody know what happens when you push that button?
Sounds an alarm.
The whole jet turns into a drone and will land itself. It will automatically find the right airport with the right weather within fuel range. It will call that airport. It will call air traffic control. It will tell them the pilot's disabled and it's coming in. It will close the airport and then land. And then once we land, it puts the brakes on, and then they can tow it off the runway. So for that advancement, which came out in 2020, Garmin got the Collier Trophy as well. So this aircraft holds 2 Collier Trophies, 2 of the highest awards. The one for being a very light personal jet that finally came to market, and the other for the Safe Return Auto Land. So that's what I meant when I said it was state of the art. I wasn't kidding. So You know, for a guy like me, I have to go meet my brother in Las Vegas. He's got a Corvette, and they gave him free Corvette racing school, and he put me in. So I'm meeting they're flying in from Delaware, and I'm going to fly there because we were visiting family here. So that's, I don't know, is that a 6-hour trip to Vegas?
Yeah.
It's an hour and 20 minutes, you know, in this, you know. So I'm leaving a little early because I'm trying to beat the next little bit of snow that's coming down, because it sticks to the wings if it causes a change in the aerodynamics.
One of the really nice, I'll say it's a feature, it's not really a feature of this airplane, is that the FAA has certified it for a single pilot to fly by himself.
Right.
So this gentleman here, by the way, my name is Eric.
I'm Robert.
Robert can fly this all by himself. Most of these other jets that you see parked out here require 2 pilots legally, which is kind of an inconvenience. Like, yeah, you might have, it might be your personal jet, but you need somebody to co-pilot with you. This one you can fly by yourself.
So to do that, though, I have to take a check ride with the FAA every year. So it's April 11th. It's a 3-day course, and I have to redo that every year to show that I can handle all the emergencies. They give you, it's no regular flying. It's just all emergencies, one after another. This screen will fail, that screen will fail, the gear won't come down, the flaps won't come down. Sometimes all at the same time. You know what I mean? And you got to be able to handle all those emergencies. And if you do, you get a stamp and you're good for another year. So they keep you proficient, which you have to be. So it goes to 31,000 feet and does 310 knots, which is about 360 miles an hour. So and it only burns, it only has one engine, so it only burns 60 to 65 gallons an hour. So the operating costs are good compared to those jets out there.
Compared to those, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you so much, Robert, for allowing us
Nice
to
meeting you.
distract you from your pre-flight and stuff.
So if anybody's going to be a pilot here, when somebody distracts you during your pre-flight, I started from the beginning again. So here I am. I'm going to fly single pilot through some clouds. You know what I mean? You know, I don't want. Nothing gets better in the air. So I want it all to be perfect before I take off. So I'll just start my pre-flight again. But that happens all the time because you know everybody at airports. You know. Well, good luck, everybody.
Sorry, thank you so much.
Our probably top dog is the PC-12 there. We do pretty much all the maintenance in-house on those aircraft at this time, starting with like the annual and the 24-month inspection project. But are any of you guys interested in being airplane mechanics or?
That's a maybe.
I'd say it's not. It's a pretty fun path. It's never the same if you go the charter route like what we are per se. There's always some type of fire, not real like actual fire, but just some type of nonsense trying to get the aircraft back in the air. They are roughly 20-ish years old. Unlike your cars where you can't just pull over on the side of the road, you have to make it to the ground and do that fun stuff. You guys have any questions or anything?
More questions? Are there any airplanes that you can go look inside of?
Yeah, we can go take a look over at this Excel, Day 3.
That one over there.
Over there, the larger one.
Okay, the last one there.
I'm calling about a walking through y'all in November of 24. Or a property I'll remove and I can go install in 5 places. I'm trying to figure out where I got this down.
Be careful. Don't touch too much
It
stuff.
came off
Specifically the window shades, those things weren't designed the smartest way. They tend to break easily.
work order is 14975.
If you guys are interested in being an airplane mechanic, you have to go get what's called an A&P, Airframe Power Plant license. There's a few colleges around in Utah that have it. I know Utah State, SUU has one, and then I went to Slick. Biggest difference between all those three is SCU and Utah State. They make you get a degree along with your license. You can go to Slick and just get your license. In the grand scheme of things, your degree is not going to do anything. It's not going to get you a job. It's not going to change anything. You just need to get your A&P, and there's a severe lacking of mechanics. So if you're younger, which you guys all seem to be.
Do you guys have internships?
We don't. We have one apprenticeship spot, and that's filled with someone going up at Utah State. But that tends to be a pretty open position. Every 6 or 8 months, usually they get their license, and then they go the commercial route. It's kind of been what's happening, which is good for them, but I have no interest in that.
Devin's the assistant chief pilot for Skyshare as well, and they've been here. David's been here for some time.
About 7 years. Skyshare had 1 airplane and 2 pilots. Now we're at 21 airplanes and 56 pilots.
So as the chief pilot, how many of the types are you licensed to fly?
You bet. So regulation for the parts that we fly under, we only allowed to fly two types. So there's 2 types that I'm qualified to fly on. We try not to qualify many of our pilots on too many different types of airplanes. Part of the reason is they're complex, right? Each airplane has a lot of different stuff on them. Some airplanes, different speeds and stuff like that, memory items, emergency stuff and stuff like that. So that comes into play a lot of times.
So what are the 2 that you fly?
I fly the PC-12, which the one down there on the end, and then the CJ-2. One just a little bit smaller than this one here.
Okay.
I don't like the big suitcase. Big airplanes come with big suitcases, and I don't like the big suitcase.
And CJ would stand for citation jet?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. That's a Cessna. Those are Cessnas. We love Cessnas. Okay.
This one here is also a Cessna. This is a Citation Cessna XL.
What's your favorite fly?
What was that?
What's your favorite fly?
Oh man, you know, everybody asks me that, and it's a hard question, right? So I say the Pilatus is probably, Pilatus is always going to have one of my favorites, because it was the first plane I really ever flew commercially, right? We can take that into small airports, but the CJ I can take 45,000 feet above the airliners. So that's kind of cool too. So it really just depends on the mission, right? The favorite to fly, man, it depends on the day. Like, this guy just got back from Nome, Alaska in the PC-12. So we just got back from there. Right, so everybody wants to go into aviation or is in aviation, or? All right.
At this point, their inclination is to want to go into aviation.
Good.
Yeah, you know, if I don't scare them away, I don't persuade them it's a bad idea. Yeah, they haven't been spooked yet, so they got pretty high motivation.
Good. Aviation, you know, it is a field that is rapidly growing. A lot of people don't know about the small side of aviation, right? The private side, like we're in, the corporate side, which is a totally different world than the airlines. What else can I answer for you guys?
So, on average, for people that work at this operation, you know, Skyshare, most jobs are 9 to 5 or whatever, 40 hours a week. You probably have not conventional hours in that regard.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about your working hours and what the requirements are on your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of our pilots, our captains are on what we call an 8-6 rotation. So they're 8 days on, 6 days off. And so when people hear about that, it's like, oh, 8 days in a row, that sounds like a lot, right? You can be gone all 8 days, right? But you're also going to destination cities a lot of times. You're flying and stuff like that. But a lot of times you also come back through the valley. With the program and the way that we're in Salt Lake, a lot of guys are back in their own beds at night and stuff like that. So it's 8 on, 6 off. When you get the bigger airplanes, like this one out here, the big one out there with the door open, when you get to an airplane like that, that's more like a 13 days on, 13 days off.
Oh, sorry for the way.
So we keep it where it's at until it has another trip to do it. And then as far as, you know, training and stuff like that go, every pilot has to go to training 2 times a year. Your initial training to fly a plane like this is every day in class for about 2.5 to 3 weeks. The plane out there is about 6 weeks. And then that happens for your first training. And then after that, you go once a year. You go once a year for about a week, and then another one in the 6-month point for about 3 or 4 days at a time.
So about how many flying hours do you accumulate per year?
Great question. So on average, somewhere between 400 and 600. That's usually where the pilots run in. When we were right at our growing phase in flight, guys were getting 900 hours a year, and they said, Dave, we're going to leave because they're flying too much, right? The airlines average about 900 to 1,000 a year. I don't think they cap out at 1,000 a year. I think that's the maximum they allow.
Yeah, I call that and I text him everything.
The 135 flying isn't really a time building thing. It's a quality of life adventure. It's a different world than flying. You get to know your clients. You get to interact with your clients. You get to go to Cabo for the weekend. He was Puerto Vallarta or Cabo. Just back from, like I say, he just got back from Nome, Alaska. Picked up with one of our clients that just did the Iditarod. He says, I'm not flying home from Nome, Alaska commercial. And so we set up a plane and came home.
Question for you, what age do you want to fly? 135?
Quality of life, 100% quality of life. The schedule here is 8 and 6, but most of the time we're home. I don't know what, at least 4 or 5 of the nights and 8 on. So definitely quality of life over, you know, the pay I guess the airlines can offer. So yeah.
The 135 world, the private sector, when we say quality of life, everybody knows what that means, right? You know, the quality of life. The airlines is a different world of flight. Will you ever find the same benefits and pay that you'll get in an airline? No, you won't. When you work up your way in an airline, the pay is always going to be good. But the thing with airlines, you've got to retire at 65. Maybe they're going to take that to 67. There is no legal retirement age until you don't pass a medical. That's really where it gets to. When you fly international, when you fly a KO into Europe or stuff like that, they still have the 65 limit to be a captain. You can still fly it as an SSC. So, but none of these aircraft that are like in the hangar, none of those go to Europe, stuff like that. Not out there, didn't make it to Europe, stuff like that.
So just an FYI, you guys, this airplane here with the door open, that's a Gulfstream jet. That's kind of the highest end of a private or corporate jet. Although that's not necessarily the highest model of it, but in general, that's the top of the line for a private or corporate jet, wouldn't you say?
Correct. Yeah.
That is the top of the line. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the airplane you just saw pull out of here, the Cirrus Vision Jet, that's the bottom of the line. That bottom of the line cost you $4 million. It's an awesome airplane. If I had the $4 million, I would buy it. But yeah, so that's just kind of the top and the bottom of the scale as far as these type of aircraft are concerned.
The new Gulfstreams that are being produced, if you bought them from a factory nowadays, I think they're 86 to 90 something $million. Yeah. More money than I'll ever have. What other kind of questions?
What's the average like airline?
Sorry, that?
What's the average airline compared to that?
Oh, they're up in the $300–400 million range. Yeah.
So we're running later. How many hours?
So our PC-12, we have what we call a PDP program. It's a professional development program. And it's an operational specification. The FAA gives certain 135 operators that qualify for it, have all sorts of training involved and stuff like that. We have that operation. So what that allows us to do is allows us to take an individual and put them in the right seat of an airplane into a PC-12 that is a single pilot only aircraft, and you can log the time. And we have that program. We'll start around 700 to 800 hours as a minimum for that. And then you can come on board. We have 4 PDPs in the program right now. Devin's wife's actually in the program. She came on board, what, 4 months ago, 5 months ago? Yeah. Something like that. So that allows you to come in and build that experience, right? And then it's an easy upgrade from the right seat to the left seat of an airplane when you get to the FAA minimums for Part 135. Well, a little bit higher. See, the thing of it is the FAA has minimums, and then the insurance has minimums. And insurance dictates everything. So, yeah, so our captains are right around 1,500 hours for a minimum. Okay. On the PC-12.
Gotcha. Do you need an interpretive time for that?
You do.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to have at least 500 hours.
Okay.
So who are your typical customers or clientele for this type of operation?
Great question. Anywhere from somebody that owns their own business, just a professional individual, up to, you know, movie stars for flying. Anybody know who, you guys are all pretty young, maybe you'll know, but Jimmy Buffett, anybody know who Jimmy Buffett was? So I flew Jimmy Buffett a few times before he died. He was a pilot himself. He actually had a PC-12 in Florida, so he liked to sit up front when we fly him and stuff like that. But to answer your question on typical clientele, it varies so widely that it's hard to answer that question exactly.
Do you ever have families that want to take a vacation just as a family?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All the time. Yeah. One of the very popular trips this time of year. Everybody wants to come from here, Southern California, that lives here, right? Everybody from Southern California wants to come up here and go skiing, right? And so very popular trip this time of year is Disneyland. You know, we go into S&A, Santa Ana, like John Wayne Airport. We go into there quite often. Where else there's plenty of family. Plenty of family trips.
Bozeman's pretty common.
Yeah, Bozeman's pretty. Yeah.
And roughly what does that cost?
There you go. So PC-12, it goes for about $2,500 an hour. This one here goes for about $4,500 an hour. The one out there is about 10 grand an hour.
So the family wants to go to Disneyland. It's, I don't know, from here maybe a couple hours-ish.
Depending on what airplane.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's, $5,000. How much of that, how much time do they get in Disneyland? Like, how many nights, if any, do you pay extra per night, or how does that all work?
You bet. So, depends on if you're a chartering or if you're part of the fractional program.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you're chartering, you're going to get a set number. This is what you pay no matter what, right? You tell us where you want to go, how long you're going to be there, all that kind of stuff. That's what you pay. On the fractional side, you're buying into the program for, I think it's at $300,000 for one share, or 16th share. That gets you 20 days a year to fly. And so to answer your question, if you spend overnight, the next day would be a next day. So if you're flying down, spend the weekend, you'd use 4 of your days. Otherwise, you go to what we call round trip rates, which is a lower rate. Then we go to one-way rates, which is a higher rate, but then you're not using as many of your days. So with a fractional program, you get days, you're paying monthly fees, and you're paying buy-in fees. And then with the charter, you're paying charter rates. Charter rates are always going to be higher. So kind of how it goes is if you're flying more than, like, I think it's more than 16 days a year or something like that, 76 hours I think it comes up to be or something like that, then it comes to say, hey, get out of the charter world and get into the fractional world. It's kind of where, that's out of my wheelhouse. I don't deal with the money side of things, so. But that's, I think, where they were saying. You were having a question?
Yeah, what's the farthest you've flown?
The farthest I've flown would be Opelika, so Miami, Florida area. Yep, I flew a few years back when there was the Super Bowl. I had a client that went down there for that. Yep. It was 2 stops going out, and it was 4 stops coming back because the headwinds were 190 knots.
Oh my goodness.
So it was brutal coming back.
That's what I just read this last weekend for there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it was.
Sister, brother flew back from Florida and DC.
Oh,
Super long flight to another.
when you're going that way, it's great. When you're coming this way, it's horrible.
Also, feel free not to answer this question, but what's like the total pay? Like somebody.
Yep, you bet. So depends on the airframe, right? And the longer you've been with the company, the more you make, right? But a PC-12 captain, depending upon your hours, but they start between 90 and 100,000 a year, and then the CJ captains start at 125. The XL captains, so this airplane starts at about 160,000 a year, and the one up there is about 230,000 a year for captain pay. For the SIC pays, they range from 40,000 a year up to about 130,000 a year.
SIC means second in command or co-pilot.
So right seat. Yep.
Also right seater.
Did they let you look on the airplanes?
Yeah, they did.
They let us climb up into the citation.
Awesome.
Well, would you able to fly from the airlines and come fly from the companies?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of times you'll have your airline people, especially when they hit the retirement age, that they want to come over to the 135 world, and they do that as well. And there's also another side of not just 135, right? There's also another side that there's individuals that own their own airplanes, right? And they just fly their airplane. Those are the only people that ever fly on that airplane.